So, a lot of the time you're just gonna watch past Ace react to this stuff. Um, I'll turn my webcam on in past Ace mode in a little bit. It's not immediate. So, yeah, I have a whole bunch of things to add, especially to the Zerg campaign for obvious reasons. This is, I mean, for very clear reasons, one of my favorite videos that Grant has put out because I had the most influence into it. We worked on strategies together. It takes place in my favorite campaign, all this kind of stuff. So I have a special place for it. So that's why it's good. Let's get started. Again, lots of time you'll be listening to past me, and I'll add extra comments as needed. And we're playing Protoss. I have to... I also blew out my mic audio really badly during this, so my bad. I'm going to be fiddling with audio settings. I actually spent a lot of time fixing this, so it is at least somewhat presentable. So, again, let's go. Like, just comment on it, because it's so freaking cool. Let's go.
They just can't reproduce fast enough, eventually lose their production.
Oh, I need to start from the very beginning. I didn't get the first 4 minutes, so I'm going to actually go with the first 4 minutes real quick. Boom. Let me move this over real quick. Boom.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Pain.
So this is real.
I've done a lot of RTS challenges without losing a unit over the years, and none of them even come close to the campaigns we're going to experience today. This is StarCraft Brood War without losing a unit, and while my forces might be making it through unscathed, my sanity will not. Let's begin. The Brood War expansion of StarCraft 1 starts off significantly faster than the base game. The Overmind may have been slain, but the Protoss homeworld of Ire has been lost to the Zerg, and Zeratul must evacuate. After knocking down a few Zerg structures, we come to the first challenge of this no-build mission, an event where we rescue a huge number of zealots that are supposed to aid in combat against a large Zerg force. This is what it looks like if you try to fight it straight up. The clunky movement of units in StarCraft 1 means that pulling back damaged zealots from the pack is basically impossible.
It's really hard.
There's always a trick.
Shout out to the Zergling in the control group there.
And the Zerg who want
it
to guard
just
this area
spawns so you rescue everything and then goes
While
away.
They're stretched out,
so
I navigate the cloaked Zeratul through the swarm. As long as he doesn't hit anything, the Overlord detectors will not rush in, and he can sneak through easily.
That's new, but I really like that text
This means
effect.
that the 20-ish combat units that I have are now separated from the hero, and he's working with only a pair of Dragoons that we found on this side. After using the Goons to tank against a few sunken colonies, I send them back to some derelict buildings, meet up with some Zealots, kill an Ultralisk, and run through this next group. These Zealots are important here. If Zeratul is alone, a Queen will show up and cast the Parasite ability on him, rendering his cloak useless for the rest of the mission. For some reason, if the Zealots are here, she just doesn't do it. The Brood War AI
I love the
good at using
introduction to AI manipulation in such an
understandable
understandable way at the start.
Like
It's really good.
Throughout the run. Once we're past the trench of Ultralisks, we meet up with a group of Protoss, use some shield batteries to regenerate, and have one final gauntlet to reach the end of the mission. I use what range forces I have to slowly peel through groups of burrowed Zerg and
what I appreciate is that this is basically just the speed run modified slightly in so many ways for all three campaigns. It's really cool.
Tank the rest of the shots and reach the Waygate at the end. In the final cutscene, some AI allies defend
genuinely curious why I called it a Waygate.
Zeratul makes his way through the
probably
Waygate.
not incorrect.
And now is a good time to clear up some of the rules. In previous Deathless runs, I've had technicalities for what counted as unit deaths. StarCraft Brood War is another beast though. The combination of awful unit pathing, spells being absurdly overpowered, and an AI that is massively buffed compared to the base game means that I have to pull out all the stops.
It's my favorite speedrun strat.
The only rules are that I beat the missions and have the unit loss counter be at 0 at the end. So things like these forces that aren't mine, I don't care about them. Get a better commander next time. Now that Zeratul has retreated to Shikoros, it's time to find the Dark Templar and build a base. After an agonizing 12-second trip, we find a mineral field, make a nexus, and prepare the Zealot fort. Once our base completes, a bunch of
Zealot wall
spawn and attack from all over. We use our phalanx to protect the probes, and the Dark Templar appear to save the day. Dunes of Shikoros is the first macro mission of the run, and we
I wish this little thing put a little check mark because you found the Dark Templar already.
It's mission 2, and we have about half of the Protoss tech tree unlocked, which is actually more than the Zerg we have to wipe off.
Progression in Brood War, literally like half the campaign.
Macro mission
or you have everything and like
easy. To
It's
defend
just
as I
so
build up, I
fast
bring
to
the 4
start.
Dark Templar to this bridge. At first, I make a full cloaked wall, hoping the enemies will run into it and get shredded. But then the Zerg get, confused and started dancing around, and this could be really great, like a permanent force field, or a bunch of attack waves would stack up and eventually get detection and overwhelm me. So I decided to open a little valve.
Open the gate a little.
Sneak past, but about 75% of the stuff gets chopped up by my invisible blender before getting to my base. Using all the tech I have unlocked, I start building a nice fleet of scouts, and I start using the Scout Dark Templar combination to clear. Scouts can blast the individual Hydralisks and the anti-ground defenses, and if a big group shows up, I can bait them into the Dark Templar. And if they try to send Overlords to see the invisible DTs,
it's the Corsair DT we have at home.
Annihilate them. The
or
enemy
rather,
only
that's
having
really
a couple hatcheries
expensive.
on the map means that they just can't reproduce fast enough. Eventually.
Okay, I'm gonna cut back to my OG now. Let's see, yeah. Do that, cut to VLC.
And the mission is done without too much hassle.
Magic boxing skills,
Shakuras
too.
won't be free of the Zerg until the Cerebrits leading the invasion are destroyed. To combat their formidable defenses, we unlock the Corsair, whose disruption web can disable attackers under it.
I also turned my face cam on
This is
eventually.
almost
identical to the last one, so I'm curious.
Because coordinated attack waves between them can either split my attention or overwhelm one area with far more swarm than I was expecting.
I feel like this is Scout's DT again.
To lose units in. After bringing my Dragoons and Corsairs over to my base, I build some tech, hold off a couple attack waves, and make a pair of shuttles. The mission is designed around using shuttles to drop large groups of units onto the enemy island, but using
the Scout is a good unit. It's just too expensive. Like, straight up, it is not terrible.
The bottom of the map using disruption
Let us... Oh my god.
Start building some gateways.
I did not see the fun.
I pump out some Dragoons, a couple of shield batteries...
What's a Zealot-only strat? Let's go.
To abuse one of the most important tricks in this challenge. The enemy AI
the
might
proxy
be
shield
allied together, but they don't share vision. So despite the purple and orange Zerg being right next to each other, I can use the long-range Dragoons combined with vision-blocking terrain to make sure that orange has no idea what's going on. Instead of helping his friend and overwhelming me, he keeps sending attack waves into my defenses at home.
Splitting different players is fantastic.
Appears, the disruption web nullifies it, and my quickly growing Dragoon squad makes easy work of both Zerg players one at a time. And of course, I remember to build a few Dark Templar, as they're the only thing that can slay Cerebrits. And once the deed is done, Kerrigan appears to congratulate us.
Yeah.
After a brief chat,
you can make everything in Roblox.
Kerrigan. A new Overmind is being grown on Char, and we need some crystals to stop it. After the AI drops some troops and somehow loses 2 of their shuttles to missile turrets, we secure a beachhead, and the Queen of Blades makes landfall. And because this is any StarCraft game ever, Kerrigan is super broken. I cloak her, Psystorm these Goliaths to make them run away.
This is the exact speedrun strat. Let's go!
Hang out a bit to regenerate some HP, and then go on to the objective.
Yeah, so blown out audio aces past ace, current good audio aces.
Where there are 5 defensive generators, and for each one that is destroyed, I get more available forces. I considered trying to be weird and do things out of order for this mission to gain some sort of advantage.
Yeah, there we go.
But the entire map requires shuttles to move around and is covered in about 20 quintillion missile turrets, so
accurate number.
To playing normal.
Damn it! I'm gonna say the same thing! No! Okay, this is weird. You listening to you is weird, but the worst part on planet Earth of listening to yourself is when you have the same idea and then do that. Oh, it's so cringe when I'm like, accurate. I actually thought of that, yeah. In the original mix, Grant was super quiet, like 10% of my volume. So I went into Audacity with Grant's help and fixed it.
To only take shield damage. After that, I have some Dark Templar to work with, letting me slice open some bunkers without taking any hits, but the map being 83% missile turrets by volume means that detection is almost everywhere. The 4th generator is where it starts to get interesting. This thing is covered in Goliaths, siege tanks, ghosts with lockdown, bunkers, and a field of...
It's a really good lockdown bait.
This section took about 10 minutes of slowly moving around, poking and prodding from different angles.
Intended route, by the way.
A pair of High Templar, and getting really confused about why missile turrets can shoot so freaking far. Eventually...
yeah, you added new text jokes, and unfortunately, because yeah, old video sucks, but I can't unreact to it, so I'll lose all my stuff. Yeah, I'll listen to all the...
Opening up
get him
where the hero scout
unreact. Okay.
Finish off the objective.
Pepe NPC.
The final generator is by far the hardest and is on its own separate island. The defenses are much thicker, and I'm expected to use an arbiter to recall my ground forces.
Hey, y'all added more text jokes in, especially in the first half, I believe.
Nope. I skim over the top of the map with my scouts and arbiter, use
I wanna-
Stasis to convert the
Scouts are
battlefields into
actually,
observers,
like,
and blast the
ridiculous.
thermal generators before the
They're
battle
so
boys will
strong
take
against
retaliate.
air. They
Now
are
the Protoss
less
fleet is
useful
head
than
to charge.
observers.
The Daylon will work with the Zerg to steal the second crystal from the clutches of the newly born Overmind. Or...
I knew he was gonna do this, and it's still funny.
With the Overmind set
Perfect.
mission, the crystal is secured, but Indicator
Love
Aldaris
it.
is angry that we've been working with Kerrigan and has betrayed us. So now we have to play whack-a-mole with hallucinated Aldarises leading a band of rebel Protoss. There are 3 on the map, and only one is the real thing. Unfortunately for StarCraft 1, the trigger system may have not been robust enough at the time, so the top center is always him.
So,
even if you don't...
real quick on that, there is a trigger called Randomize Flag. But I don't know if it existed in base or if it was like an SCM draft edition. But hi, Hairlight. Or Hairlight. But it does exist. Randomization does exist. Lots of games are built on it in the UMS section. But I don't know if it was native to the campaign.
No, the game spoils it a bit by having the fake Aldarises defended by basically nothing, while the main one has enough cannons to make Napoleon jealous. This mission is famous for how easy it is to cheese on normal gameplay. We get
Grant the history buff.
Control.
Also, really nice Archon.
Him over and successfully cast one Dark Archon to win.
Reshield there.
We can't do that because shuttles are flimsy and the cannons do hit hard. So instead, we do something that's actually much easier. Build 2 Corsairs with Disruption Web, 1 Scout, and fly them across the top of the map.
No.
The cannons and go get lunch while Samuel the Scout slowly oh my God. Until Kerrigan stabs him. Huh, maybe he did have a good point about not trusting her. Good thing he wasn't on my team, so it doesn't count as a loss. So far, the run hasn't been too bad.
Okay. I know a couple things because I worked with him on this. This mission is the longest script in the entire... I think might be the longest script in all of any video on a single mission outside of a retrospective. This mission is nuts. We cooked so hard. Let's see what goes on.
A bit of StarCraft 1 quirkiness here and there, but nothing that made me want to throw my computer out of a 12th story window. Welcome to Countdown.
Yeah.
Siri, please direct me to the nearest skyscraper. I'm going to be a bit out of order with my explanation here because the end of
I like that one. That was a good joke.
We have to do at the beginning, so stick with me.
Love
On
it.
paper, the mission is simple. We have a Zeratul and an Artanis. Bring them to the temple in the center of the map, defend it for 15 minutes, and you're done. The entire rest of the map is Zerg base, and they literally send everything at you once the defense segment starts. The mission is normally a breeze. You can make a bunch of carriers, maybe some reavers underneath, and create a death zone around the temple that is unfortunately not allowed here because interceptors are units, and they die easily. So we're lacking our strongest weapon. This is by far the hardest defense mission in all of StarCraft, and on top of that, we have a frustrating unique issue.
I'm really appreciating your use of shield battery now that I'm seeing it through. You're
explain how dumb this is.
Really
Here's a test save that I made right before claiming the temple.
Okay, so Grant DM'd me about this as well, how he's including a clip of 3 different locations.
Mutalisk attack goes to the left and hits that base. I reload the save, and they go after the temple, and then I reload again, and they go to the bottom right base. To make things worse, they also hit from random angles.
I'm pretty sure Grant or Finlay edited these to have like a deeper saturation. This is not true, but I mention it like 3 times in the video. The original cut had some strangely darker sections. Of most of them got removed. A few still remain, but it's just a rendering issue. So no, there's nothing actually into it. So if I ever say there's something that is, it's not. It's a Google Drive thing. Fascinating. The OG video is fine. If you watch them on Google Drive, it's fine. But when you download it, it's dark. Well, crazy. Google re-encode stuff. But if you watch it on Google Drive, it's fine. That's crazy. On a failed attempt, because like you can't see the...
It's a stray probe or something like that around, and it will get picked off due to just the insane level of variety.
And the attack angles are awful.
So we're gonna have to kill some of the Zerg players. I just want to be upfront here. I do not have the storytelling skill to express how awful this mission was to play. As of my progress right now, this is by far the most...
I have the DMs to describe how awful it was to play, and that's about it.
I spent hours and hours slowly piecing together a cohesive strategy for this mission, far too many restarts with different strategies to explain. This is just a snapshot of some of what I learned and how I put it all together. Most of the Zerg forces are on heavily fortified islands, but Red's bases are on the same landmass as me, so I aim for them first. They have a nice safe base to the bottom of make some Dragoons and get hit by spawn broodling. The enemy starts off with this spell. If they ever get vision of any biological ground unit at any point during the mission, they will instantly run a queen over and one-shot it. Cool. So I make a group of Reavers, I guess, and go to the bottom left base, using Artanis to fight off any defending Mutalisks. Being robots and anti-ground death machines...
Reavers are only good in mass if you have, like, $3 trillion.
Then I do something really cool and really normal. I build about 10 shuttles and load them up with every Dragoon and Zealot that I started the mission with, and
keep them there
forever. This is the only way that I can guarantee a random enemy attack won't spot one of my units. Call a queen over.
Could theoretically arbiter it as you do later, but that's still unreliable.
To pop out some Corsairs and an arbiter. I use 3 shuttles to ferry the Reavers around and launch an attack on Red's second base. There is a future problem coming up. I want to either defend the temple or attack the other Zerg players. To do that, I need a long-range siege unit. Normally for StarCraft 1 Protoss, that role goes to the carrier, which I explained before is a terrible idea. I need a unit that can ideally fly, stop lurkers, ultralisks, and defilers before they can do anything, and not be shot back in the process. And Protoss just doesn't have that unit.
Well,
but
what can we do?
This isn't an issue. Corsair's disruption weapon.
I know what he does, so...
defenses allowing Reavers to deal their damage. The Arbiter cloaks everything.
God, the Scourge are just a nightmare.
The that come near are pushed away by the Corsair's anti-air weapon. It's a great combination.
Yeah, and I think it's reasonable.
Red player can't muster a defense against
slightly supply inefficient, as you mentioned.
There it is. Archon, ferry it over, and mind control a Zerg drone. Because Protoss is lacking the ranged flyer I need, but Zerg isn't.
Guardian time.
Everybody back behind my defenses,
Let's
build a
go.
hatchery, tech up to Spire, and make a control group of Guardians.
That is true.
Importantly, I have to
did
build
use
a
his
pair
last
of
turn to make a
arbiters
building.
permanently sit on top of these larvae because the AI will spawn broodlings on them if they...
Okay, that's very interesting because Grant does not count. Those don't count in the score screen. Grant said he was going to be a little generous, like at the very, very beginning mentioned. If it doesn't count on the score screen, it doesn't matter. So I'm very curious why that stuck.
You can see them. Don't ask me how I know. Up to this point,
they will also do it on eggs too. It's stupid.
What I was envisioning from the beginning. Red is dead, the island Zergs remain, and it's time to wipe them out. And wow, does this suck? StarCraft 1 is always a fiddly mess, but it's most apparent when you have to snipe 17 Scourge
apparently.
Flying
to be fair, canonically,
these bases
are in Grant completion order. This was a last mission done, so it doesn't work narratively, but it works IRL-ly.
There's like 30 trillion detectors. I have no idea what the enemy can see and what they can't, and they're not sure what they can see because they routinely send stuff to weird angles, and it makes everything miserable. I tried some funky strategies like hallucinating a bunch of...
So sad big Haluk energy didn't work.
Instantly rebuilds them all,
it's true.
And I couldn't get it to matter.
Damn, that was my cook.
Was running out of money. I had to try taking Red's old base, but this is a really poorly positioned one where all the minerals are pointing towards a dead zone, where the enemy can just randomly waltz in and snipe my probes with impunity. This is true for
I'd rather my enemies foxtrot in.
Meaning that past my first 3, there's just more randomness if I try to take them. After failing to push orange multiple times, I ended up restarting the entire mission, doing the exact same thing but faster, and going against the left side's brown.
34 minutes
this
still.
Actually went okay. Brown's more spread out nature means
there are 2 of me because I reacted to the patron version here, and that was the original one, and then I'm adding extra things I've learned.
It's a damage over time spell that reduces everybody's HP in an area to 1. Protoss shields do
double
remain,
react.
But they have no way to repair or regenerate durability, and shields take massive damage from everything. This basically means that an impacted unit will
Plague is brutal, absolutely awful.
Meaning that it's permanently wasted supply. After a couple hours of testing,
he's at 193. Jesus.
I just kept getting plagued eventually. I would have to build so many units that I would max out, and then something would inevitably die. I just couldn't replace my forces because remember, I have like 50 supply tied up in these stupid shuttles and all the units that they're carrying. So I can't kill orange and I can't kill brown. My only other choice is to play the full defense mission. I was
wondering if you could go for like Mass Arbiter and just stasis a whole bunch of stuff. I know you can't do it infinitely, but it would be kind of spicy. Well, I haven't seen this.
And it's awful.
So one of the guys in the comments was like, "Oh, I did this really easily by just spamming cannons," and I go, "Cool. Your experience, your income doesn't rely on this mission being both completed and narratively interesting." And people miss that all the time. Is that things have to be both done and narratively interesting.
The enemy attacks are the strongest in all of StarCraft, and because of the random nature, they'll often hit multiple bases.
These attacks are just ridiculous.
Meanwhile, I'm out of
and these storms are just ridiculous
because they're all inviting angry guardians to snipe my
probe. And look how efficient that was.
It's been over 5 hours, and I'm honestly pissed. Randomness is not the type of challenge I enjoy, and this mission thrives in stacking layer upon layer.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do something that I really, really hate doing in these sorts of runs. I save scum. Hard.
Oh,
I leave the Reavers and cannons protecting the base with my larvae.
I don't blame them.
The Corsairs, Arbiters, Guardians, and some shuttles with high power go to the objective, and I start the event. I take a fight, clean it up, and save, get attacked in some ridiculous location by a big force, inevitably lose a unit,
deweb the Dark Swarm. This is what mine look like for some of the Zerg missions. It's just DL 8 point whatever.
Try again and try to get them to attack somewhere better. Save, rinse, and repeat over and over. I don't blame. I am not happy with this as a solution. I really try to avoid it. But in a game that is as difficult to control as Brood War, in a mission that is so overwhelming with enemies as Countdown, I am not going to spend the rest of my life redoing the
Look at those mutas.
I get good RNG. It sucks, but so does the mission. On the bright side, look at these storms. That was a good one. That was like 30 mutas, dude. Incredible storms. Oh, baby, that was a good one.
Oh, baby, that's a good one.
Incredible.
Grant sent me that one as a video clip. Oh, it's gross. It's right there. He titled it NSFZ, and I get it. I really do. So, that's great.
Now that the Protoss campaign
Countdown was almost half the entire Protoss campaign.
The United Earth Directorate is in town, but unfortunately, our story starts with a frown. The United Earth Directorate is in town, but unfortunately, our story starts with a frown. Our starting base has no gas, which is something Dougal cannot allow to pass. We must take this planet by destroying the Dominion base, and without Vespine, there's someone we cannot face. But as we look around, we find a new friend, whose base has a refinery, putting our problems to an end.
It doesn't,
He also says something the General wants to hear. The Dominion base has a weak point at the rear. So I build some tanks, and I feel a bit coy as I breach the sci-fi version of Troy. My tanks siege up and the Dominion will fight, but they're no match for my overwhelming might. The artillery shoot and the SCVs repair, and soon silence fills the air. They have run out of troops, and I make my way to the command center that I must slay. With the base destroyed, the UED have won, and I begin a campaign that I find quite fun.
He pitched that to me and I loved it.
Has decided to not talk about
the
last mission. They need
I was hoping for a Dr. Seuss moment right there. The UED have fired Dr. Seuss.
So we head to the Dylarian shipyards to grab some battle
cruisers. He didn't say sheep.
In a mission that's basically the same as...
Oh, there it is. Make puns about sheep.
This is the mission that we get the Medic, a unit that single-handedly turns Terran infantry from F tier in Deathless to, like, I don't know...
C tier?
Healing is always good, but Marines still aren't.
You also get like a ton of armor ups here. Medics are so good.
The bull rush bunkers and guide.
And move.
Part 2 involves committing a war crime by using optical.
I just sat on the bar that pushes down my chair and almost squished yourself.
Take a moment to explain something that has no value, but I'm quite proud of figuring it out. Initially, when I was going into Brood War Deathless, I had to figure out what to do about nukes. During some of my old rule sets, they absolutely would count as units because it costs supply and money. And this section starts with our forces capturing 4 nuke silos to use them against heavily entrenched enemies. So I wasn't sure how I was going to get past it, and then I tried shooting off a nuke, and it's colored red, and I'm the white player. And if you look at the supply in the top right, they don't cost any supply. It turns out in StarCraft 1, if you steal an enemy nuke silo that's primed, they still own the nuke inside even though you're the one that can fire it.
That's
so everything you're watching
crazy.
here is actually just a series of very unfortunately friendly fire incidents. It doesn't matter with the current rule set, but I still think that it's fun.
That's very funny.
The only one that's a bit sketchy. Lots of tanks are everywhere, and a shooting shot from them can end a unit. After a bit of
I didn't know you had enough upgrades to two-shot an enemy tank there.
Hit squads here. You can all take a tank shot and then heal up while the ghost uses lockdown to stun the enemy tank and get a clean kill. It's really consistent, but it's also super slow. Once we've cleared the battle cruisers, Duke arrives with...
Are we using the Terminator mode?
Should be an epic struggle commences. If they didn't set their entire army to kill one guy, allowing me to drag the Dominion's fighters through my army.
Perfect.
I'm not sure where this boy learned tactics. Now with the fancy fleet assembled, the UED scouts find an old Confederate psi disruptor that can
mission is so good.
So it's time to blast through 4 defending Zerg hive clusters and secure it for the good guys. The Ruins of Tarsonis is a mission that I've always had a
The good guys, right?
Zerg base is themed, and when their hive is destroyed, they're completely removed from the
same bunker spot. We're gonna do it twice.
I'm gonna make a constantly evolving composition. The right side base is the easiest. We have a hero Ghost Duran, and inside the bunker, he can hit the hive from the high ground. His shots can't be targeted while inside of a bunker, but
that
with
queen
some
just keeps showing
to
up.
cover him, he'll take it out eventually. This lets me focus on the left hive, which is on a large plateau. They like air units and drops. I hate using dropships in StarCraft 1, so I produce a decent group of Marines and some tanks.
How many times is going to mention that in Zerg?
Blast with an engineering base spotting. This hive drops quickly, but on the other side, the bunker housing Duran is
going to bother me?
and I have to retreat. So instead, I send a few factory units that I've been producing.
I've been neglecting the pets today. Clearly, I'm brutal.
Downing these first 2 hives before the mark gives me a lot of breathing room, and most importantly, means that attacks will be coming from the top instead of from every angle. I take the Marines that I used to push on the left, stick them in some defenses at home, and keep pumping out Goliaths and siege tanks, because the top left is next, and they have a big ground force.
Surprise
they
defiler.
Love Ultralisks, but I have a secret weapon. The medic. I may be going for mech play, but SCVs and medics are an incredible 1-2 punch that makes Brood War Terran by far and away the most durable faction to play. Goliaths can bait enemy units into my tanks, any scratches on the paint can be easily repaired by the SCVs, and those SCVs are not at risk because the medics can keep them in tip-top shape. It creates a low-stress, high-firepower environment where I can slow crawl my tanks towards the red hive and finish it off. The final orange base is all about flyers, and this base is actually really strong against basically every anti-air unit that Terran has besides these Goliaths. But because the Brood War expansion gave them a new range upgrade for their anti-air missiles, I leave the tanks at home and focus on mass repairing whichever Goliath gets targeted. This style of play is the pinnacle of Deathless.
It's so
cool. My units are strong, my durability is fantastic, and the enemies can be punched in the face faster than they can react. I sure hope it stays this way for the Zerg campaign. If you watched my Marines only run in this game, you may remember that Arcturus Mengsk without a doubt was the main antagonist.
Yes.
His defensive prowess was a thorn in my side every single time that he appeared. And now we're back for round 2. The UED has arrived to take control of the Terran Dominion.
Okay, so we can't make this decision again, right? I guess you could stop the battlecruisers with sufficient lockdowns and keep stuff alive, but you can also save the nukes via spider mines. I'm very curious where this one goes, because he had to get nuked in Marines only. So I would expect him to try and get battle cruised here.
Minion, and unfortunately, Mengsk is not going to fare well this time.
Oh my god, look at that fortress.
We assault on Core Hall with a choice. We either destroy a group of physics labs or a group of nuclear silos to disable the Dominion's ability to make battle cruisers or nuclear bombs in the next mission. In Deathless, this is a non-choice. At the beginning of the next mission, if you let the nukes survive, the game also kindly spawns in a few civilians right under the bombs as they're about to hit, guaranteeing.
I don't think you can save the perimeter ones. I don't know if you can stop every nuke. I think you lose the peripheries with those, so yeah, you have to get battle cruised.
At this lack of
this is the weirdest SCV mineral line I've ever seen in my life. By the way.
Oh my god. Walk to the right side of the map, nuke these 2 missile turrets, and slip onto the high ground where I reduce the Emperor.
Yeah, you can put spider mines on it. Spider mines can detect cloaked units. The lore reason is because they detect vibrations on the ground and not use sight. So you can run vultures over to... You get starting vultures. And if you spider mine where all of the ghosts are going to be, you can save a bunch of the nukes. Like, you can end up with a huge army. I think that's what the speedrun does, and then you just take your army and just fly it over to the end and win.
Silos into their constituent atoms. With the arsenal destroyed, we begin the battlecruiser variant of Emperor's Fall, where a large squadron of BCs hit from all sides. To defend, we have Goliaths, Ghost with Lockdown, and most importantly, a few random buildings to distract. After locking down the battle boys, they drop easily, and now I have to take out Mengsk's main command center in the top right of the map. So I make a drop.
Shout out to trying to say Mengsk. MENGSK''S. Good luck. That was like the worst part of recording Zerg Deathless for me.
Now I have to take out Mengsk's main
awful.
command center in the top right of the map. So I make a dropship, use a science vessel,
real?
defensive matrix it,
thanks someone.
Right side,
I can't see.
Turrus, and finish
actually I can.
Some Goliaths. And
Love
Emperor's Flight is
it's Channel Miner, thanks.
Mengsk is trying to flee and seeks protection from Protoss, but you'd never guess which side of the map I fly up with a shuttle, and two tanks, abuse the lack of allied vision, and force another retreat. Mengsk was defeated 3 times in 20 minutes by going to the right side of the map. His showing today was a shadow of his Marines-only self.
Welcome to the Brood War Terran speedrun. It can be done in like 38 minutes or something stupid like that, because it's just fly to the right side of the map and win the mission. So, like a dropship and a science vessel invalidate like 80% of this campaign.
To destroy the side disruptor and didn't do it, so Duran is sent to capture him. This no-build mission is remarkably comfy. StarCraft 1 no-builds tend to be a game of having a bunch of elite
2 armor.
And then
very nice.
Slowly draining hit points. Duran's task force has these elite units, but also has medics, and his spandex suit is
hoping that
bulky.
Go medics.
Every enemy
got +2, and I think he has base 2 armor.
A segment where we can use our Marines to pilot some Goliaths, which thankfully don't.
Which I think is a voice line later on.
These bad
they are unit removed
and armor upgrades, and paired with an SCV that we kindly asked to join us in the next room, we get another.
Shout out to the piloting system being kind of introduced here. It never got used again, but I think that's super cool.
Stukov never joins our team when Duran assassinates him and escapes, but the double whammy of losing our biological bullet sponge and swapping the enemy from Terran to Zerg is a bit scarier. And the timer means that I can't just chill out and slowly clear the area. That said, most of the Zerg forces are decently manageable. My army is large to the point of
Orca's father.
Before they can even have a dream
son.
Of my boys. The first tough fight is this double Ultralisk team that, never mind.
What a presentation of StarCraft 1. Look, I'm constantly, you see Grant setting up these formations. You've got the medic to heal the firebat that's being done. Everything's happening, but I know this fight is like horrifically inconsistent from watching shots.
I can even have a dream of nibbling my boy. The first tough fight is this double Ultralisk team that, never mind.
What an incredible way of doing it.
Rescue a large number of gun.
This isn't hard either.
Zergling stream. Whoa. Firebats are actually insane against Zerglings.
Yeah.
I sometimes forget about how much pain they can put out in this game because they're such a meme in StarCraft 2. So I guess that wasn't a problem.
I mean, they're a meme in StarCraft 1 too, but only because Micro exists. If Micro doesn't exist, Firebats are unbelievable. Like, I want to be honest, like, it's crazy how good they are.
Because they're such a meme in StarCraft 2, so I guess
they barely even took damage.
The first actual hard part is this rescue segment.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of Terran and Zerg sitting right next to each other. As soon as they're rescued, a giant fight begins, and Marines start instantly falling. This one took me a couple of
Grant intentionally did different strats than me in a lot of cases.
Different
brightnesses.
This one took me a couple of tries. The strat I eventually landed on was to make a concave in the back, rescue these allies, and then
stim run.
This worked well. The enemy gets pulled into a conga line and taken out. The second to last room has a burrowed definer that pops up and uses plague, and I have bad memories from this guy.
Sorry.
Meaning that I remembered he exist and sent in a small squad and then used the
medic restore us. Nice.
And whoa, I'm actually running out of time. In the final room, there's about 1 billion Zerg. Pardon me, just getting by here.
Speed strat
going. This is just gonna sneak right behind you 1 second. No problem, got it. With the side disruptor save from Duran.
If Grant was from the Midwest, that would go very differently. Oh, sorry, let me scoot right by you.
On sabotage, it is now time to execute the UED's true plan.
I have conclusions on like the total strats we used at the end, so I'll get to them later. But my run for reference was recorded in November of 2022 for the most part, with a couple of re-recordings done when it came out. But importantly, my run came out before I practiced the speed run to death. So it's a big, the difference between my run and Grant's run is about 6 months of learning, and it shows, and I love it. I'll have so much to say here in just a little bit. This I know Grant added stuff to, so I'm going to scoot right up to it and do this. Chrome.
Just gonna sneak right behind you 1 second, no problem, got it. With the side disruptor saved from Duran's sabotage, it is now time to execute the UED's true plan. Defeat the Overmind and enslave it to do our bidding. So, this is a little awkward, but welcome to the worst part of the video. I originally wanted to have a funny running gag here. Each faction fights the Overmind once, and I wanted to static defense rush him every time as an homage to the first StarCraft Deathless. But then, when I showed the video in early access to patrons, nobody got the joke. So now I'm awkwardly sitting here doing a voiceover explaining a joke, which is the perfect way to make it funny, right? Honestly, the bunker tank push worked incredibly well, and I wish that the joke was as funny as the attack, because then I wouldn't feel like an idiot.
Hang on, we're ready for the job. Yes, sir? I'm listening.
I'm sad. The reception to this was, oh, is the audio cut out? And I was just, look at this medic pathfinding. Oh, yummy. Yeah. No, I get it. You have, because the first one wasn't done with, just the cannon rush, I would think this one back here would have, would have understood that, and maybe if there was a line saying, give the Overmind some bad memories or something like that, maybe it rolls it and then you can roll it into this. I liked it, but that's because I'm in the know. If you're not in the know, which is a majority of people, I guess it falls kind of flat. Happens. Grant is obviously in the know of the Grant videos, so
Research complete.
Okay. I'm gonna go, whoops, not that. I'm gonna go back to the OG. Here's my initial reaction. Oh, it's an Overmind mission. Yeah. Oh man. We cooked on this one a little bit too. I forgot about this. No, I don't know about that. So I know he's got a static defense rush some way. What a spot to land on. There it is.
Hang on, we're ready for the job. Yes, sir?
This will be so much easier with planetaries and team build. So stupid. He's getting static de-rushed by 3 races. Oh, that's great. Look at those medics eventually get there.
Captain, the medics are in place and are administering the neurostim treatment to the Overmind.
I appreciate Finlay for letting some of the audios play into the score screen. I manually inserted the score screen sound for all of mine, but I think having the mission play over it's kind of neat, especially when there's not a voiceover with it. Well, good for you, Grant. You did good there as well. I'm giving you and Finlay credit for it. Great editing there to keep the sound going. Damn it! Shout out on Finlay there. No! I hate when past me and current me say the same thing. It makes me feel like the most unoriginal person on Earth. Like, oh my gosh. All right. 33 minutes of Zerg. I'm so excited. That's longer than my video. I need to not pause this too much or it's going to be like a 14-hour reaction video. Right now I've done well. But oh my goodness. There are 56 minutes left in this video minimum. So I gotta really go because I gotta wrap up in about 60 minutes.
Here we go. And Kerrigan has to secure her hive.
But I also say a lot more during this section. So I should be covering a lot of it.
Each with a mini event to save them. The first is a bit silly. As soon as we approach the hive, a bunch of friendly and enemy Zerglings spawn and are set to attack each other. The hardest part here is stopping
yes, I have.
Zerglings from running to their death.
Why is this Zerg campaign starting halfway through?
Taking down the enemy lings, it's an easy clear, and then I move on, leaving the Zerglings in the back. Hive 2 has a squad of brown Zerg attacking and a squad of orange Zerg attacking, and they hate each other. So I just sit around.
I've watched the release video about twice, except for the no build mission or the overmind missions.
And the game gives me a nice squad of exploding scourge
fourth hive
them with. Yay! Thank you. So this means the hunter killers have to do the heavy lifting, downing the guardians before the hive falls.
Interesting.
Guardians are strong though, and my army ends up really bruised. This is going to be a theme throughout the Brood War Zerg campaign.
I thought you were going to lose a unit here.
Of scary air.
Death.
Far more than in the base game, and the Zerg's best anti-air tool is just illegal because it explodes. It's going to hurt for the entire run, starting now. At the center hive, I act a bit sneaky. Once approached, it activates an attack where a bunch of Zerg unburrow and charge in from two sides. But
top comment.
Around, I can instead bait
Have you tried not losing a unit?
Killers and take a load of them down. The problem is that only like half of the strike force actually unburrows, the other half is spawned in for some reason, and I don't want to deal with it right now. The hive is safe, but I move on without technically rescuing it.
Interesting.
The next hive is a fairly generic set of enemies, and after securing it, I gain a group of queens. This next area is an alley of Ultralisks, and we're supposed to use the spawn broodling spells, which one-shots a target and makes a pair of timed life units. And of course, the units count as a death when they're killed, or they expire, meaning that spawn broodlings is illegal. So to keep track, on this
said inviolable,
Zerglings, which are a massive liability because they have basically no life, Scourge, which are unusable because they explode, and now Queens, which spawn timed life units that die. We've unlocked 4 units in this mission, and only one of them is viable. It's really fun having about a third of my faction be comprised of inviable units. I love it. So I have to manually pull these
spreadsheet later. It's very funny for that.
Killers, bruising my army even more, but I can't take my time because if I do, the next hive will die. And then a bunch of Mutalisks come and attack, but at this point, there's such a bunch of whatever. And at last comes the final.
Against hunter killers,
It's on an enormous island that's being attacked everywhere, and as soon as I rescue it, a giant war breaks out. This fight is completely unmanageable and guaranteed to lose units. So instead, I slowly creep towards this final hive, eliminate the nearby threats, and then redo the trick where I fish for burrowed Zerg and take them out.
Once the
island is cleared of burrowed attackers, I prepare for the spawned force, rescue the hive, and nothing happens. Well, let's go deal with
you have to get to Hive 4 before the attacks happen.
With Dark Swarm.
It's required to do all 6 before. That's really smart. Before didn't realize there were no Zerglings in there.
All 7 hives rescued. Nothing
then
happens.
You have to show up.
So after a bit of waiting,
you have to go back and get the second wave,
which proceeds to trigger the big defense event at the end. Well, at least it spawns my guys, and then nothing.
Walk up.
Oh, they just took a while to show up.
Yeah.
After getting jumped,
VD is weird.
I clean up the island, have all 7 hives safe and sound.
Oh, the Hydra's low.
Happens.
On the far right.
Okay. Maybe the mission needs me to rescue all the hives in a specific. Oh, okay, we're done, I guess.
Yeah. This happens in the speedrun, by the way. You clear. This happened at GDQ, by the way.
I broke it. All 7 safe and sound.
Yeah, this is 11:52, and it takes like 17 seconds.
I broke it. Maybe the mission needs me to rescue all the hives in a specific. Oh, okay, we're done, I guess. Sure. You do you, StarCraft.
What's that fade? Hold on.
Specific. Oh, okay, we're done.
I ignored. There's nothing important. Oh, it just cut.
The mess of a hive rescue, Kerrigan decided
RNGM
Terran would be better to work with. The target is the UED's Psi Disruptor, and after a cutscene where Jim's strike force disables the disruptor's generator, we're deployed with an
Good Iron Jim.
who's holding a Psi emitter. Any Zerg we approach with it are brought under our control, such as this pair of drones, which we are promptly ignoring. Instead, I bolt straight up to the group
Yeah.
use them to break out
I love it.
Zerglings called Devouring Ones, and start eating my way across the map with these
Nom, nom,
elite
nom,
Zerg.
nom, nom, nom,
The
nom,
idea
nom.
behind the mission is that we're supposed to get a group of powerful Zerg to help us defend against the UED's aggression while we build up. But the enemy AI doesn't actually activate until we finish building a hatchery.
I love this.
Which we never got the chance to do. So after grabbing a few more elites, I make my way to the
As,
prize,
you know,
the elite ultra
a way to encourage map movement.
And with the big boy and the hunter killers, I just walk into the Terran base
No,
and
they're
start
not.
causing a ruckus.
Where's the 600
They have
killer?
a big fortress with a deep defensive web, but without their AI activated, they can't rebuild or send troops to reinforce locations, meaning that this fortress is actually just a series of small skirmishes. Once we make our way to the Psi Disruptor, my hunter killers spit on it until it dies.
Mr. Grant, where's your 6th hunter killer? I demand to know. Where are you? I assume that's the SCV, and I assume that's your Devouring Ones and hunter killer.
Meaning that this fortress is actually just a series
Nice.
until it dies.
Love it. So, Grant actually DM'd me every time he beat my Zerg Deathless time by doing it faster. It was very funny. He would just DM me, hey, I did this faster. Hey, I did this faster. It was great.
Reestablished, Kerrigan turns her sights towards liberating Core Hall from the UED.
And you wonder why...
But to do that, she's going to need a lot of money.
Friend.
Volunteers to
You wonder why I had the idea to
so we're off.
speedrun
This mission
Deathless.
is, it truly is a mission of all time.
Perfect.
Finding 10,000 minerals is almost as exciting as it sounds. My strategy is to take a base, and then take another base, burrow some Zerglings
Infested
all around
mules
so
are an
they can be
enhanced
safe
swarm.
and spot for incoming attacks, and
Smart.
then mine. It turns out that 4 Hydralisks, 2 Ultralisks, and a Phoenix is more than enough to hold off the enemy attacks, as long as I use the Zergling spotting to get on top of siege.
Zergling spotting is brilliant, by the way.
No problems. There is a bonus objective to infest enemy command centers for the next mission, but they make infested Terran whose special power is to end the run if I use them, so I mine deep and greedily. Also, we're ignoring the first attempt where I got nuked because I was so bored that I wasn't paying attention. That never happened.
Love it. Honestly, I appreciated GDQ that KMC was interesting. Donations plus nuke plus Phoenix joke.
10,000 minerals at our side. It's time to defeat the joint UED and Zerg.
We're back to darker.
And
This is
liberate it
darker.
for our best buddy Mengsk. This mission is where the pain begins.
Yep.
Wait, the final Protoss mission is where the pain began. This mission is where the pain resumes.
True.
I quickly use my
Yeah.
Ultra Hydra Force to clear out the expansion and
This
secure
is
it for a
this
second
was the very
phase.
first mission I
Build
did,
up a
Deathless.
lot of
I'm using
structure with my
speed
minerals and
strats.
prepare to make air units. I talked earlier about how awesome, cool, fun, and exciting it was that I unlocked a bunch of units on the first Zerg mission that are inviable. Well now, Zerglings, Broodlings, Queens, Infested Terran, and Scourge are just all units that can't fight. That is half of my arsenal. In addition, this mission is where the normal gameplay difficulty giga spikes, and it never lets up.
Yep.
In my runs, I do genuinely try to use all
Honestly, I
those
think
units and
10,000 is too
I
much.
actually keep a table of every unit and
But like making a defense mission, that would be interesting, where you have to float money while also defending would be really neat. You can attack really hard, give the player a bunch of money, and if they're really efficient, they can just leave sooner. Something like that. You have to weave it into the story, but it's possible. Also, yeah, this spreadsheet's just... What? I'm shocked that Archons didn't get any kind of mission for them, because they are just, like, tanky. Also, rip Wraiths. Understandable.
when it gets a decent showcase
Yeah, I saw this.
to make sure that I'm doing that.
Sorry,
For
Vultures.
the rest of this camp,
Come on.
table of every unit
The question marks. It doesn't want to what?
Acceptable.
That's cool.
Hi, John.
That's cool.
Thanks.
LOL. Archon. Oh, it's a shame that Archons did never get used. Oh well. Wonder if they would have helped on Countdown at all. Not that there's any money or anything to make that work. Yeah, love the table.
and when it gets a decent showcase to make sure that I'm doing that. But for the rest of this campaign, none of that applies. I am here to win. I'm here to do it without losing unit
Got a weird
because this
DM.
campaign demands respect, and I'm going to give it. I'm not saying that what I do is going to be the only viable strategy on each mission, but what I am saying is that Guardians are very good, and they are part of a complete Zerg diet. This is a mission where we're playing the Zerg enemy, and this time we're 100% biological, which means they will run around and one-shot any ground unit with spawn broodlings. So I am making flyers. There are 3 players on the map, a blue Terran, an orange Zerg, and a white Terran. Blue and orange exist on the map to attack, and white sits at home forever and builds up a super fortress.
So for quick reference, I did have to do a lot of reloads. Most of my missions took about twice as long as the timer showed. But I did try and field almost every single unit on every single mission. Like I went Hydra, Ultra. I didn't get Defilers here, but I did on the next mission, and then into air units. Just for variety.
Poking around a bit, that blue is just not given the tools to deal with air. He has a lot
blue is a very intermediate base, and I think it's a great way to make sure that the enemy right outside your main isn't like powerful.
Without his blue ally, the orange mid-map defenses are also rapidly crumpled. And
mission is just
not actually
good.
That hard? I was so prepared for Doom here.
No, just wait.
Of the map controlled,
just
there are
wait.
only 2 final bases to deal with: the Zerg on top and the White Castle on the bottom. I decide to go for the Terran first because deal with the Zerg on top and the White Castle.
Grant.
I decide to go for the Terran first because I want to avoid Scourge. Oh, this base also has Scourge and Valkyries. And
no, you have to. Yeah, it's awful.
Cruisers.
No, it's really bad.
Easily.
And you don't have Defilers yet.
Spike that I was worried about.
I meant Devourers. Or you don't have Devourers. Thanks.
His production skyrockets, and he knows exactly how to counter my compositions. Remember, the AI is way better in the Brood War expansion, and his army size is huge, meaning I have to control 4 groups simultaneously, sniping priority targets, stopping Guardians from wandering into stupid places.
Flyer micro is quite impressive in this campaign.
So they can slowly regenerate. I had to reset on this one base more than the entire Terran campaign or Protoss campaign before the final mission. And it only gets worse from here. Eventually, after many tries, I finally found some angles that worked well, got good at sniping Scourge with multiple mutalisks.
I mean, that's what this campaign is about, is...
Oh, man.
You're not just going to have a one-hit strategy. You actually have to learn and get good at it.
Scourge who can one-shot any damage.
Appealing in some way, but also pain in the other.
Enough to be at full HP. Coming in from behind means I only have to fight off a fraction of them, but they're still a menace. But they're nothing compared to the Terran base we cleaned up. The orange Zerg falls, the victory condition of clearing every building on the map isn't completed. After searching for a bit, it turns out that in desperation, the original blue player had hit a factory.
That's so funny. I've never seen
base, meaning I accidentally.
I might have seen that once.
Reverse order. I'll take it.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think it did make orange way easier to beat because orange was a big roadblock when I did this. I wanted to push in with because I wanted to poke with flyers and then just flood in with ultras, and it just didn't work very well. So I think that was pretty darn solid.
Has gotten what she needs from her friends, and now it's time for a little bit of light betrayal. In true colors, we have 6 minutes to launch a sneak attack against the enemy.
Okay, Grant was so proud of this strat. I love it to death, and I can't wait to see how he presents this. This is so good. It gives me the happies. True Colors is the best mission in StarCraft 1. No bias, by the way. I mean, I put it in the top 5 without bias. Number 1 with bias.
A little bit of light betrayal. In true colors, we have 6 minutes to launch a sneak attack against the enemy Protoss and Terran. During this time, the enemies are asleep and won't fight back unless something very close to them is attacked.
Oh my god. I've watched this section like 8 times, legitimately.
That the other opponent has rebuilt from the sneak attack and has all of their tech online, creates a massive fortification, and is almost unbreakable without...
So this is... I'm going to add some context because Grant and I cooked on this and worked together. This is him doing the factory snipe strat from the speed run. And it ends with this because I rebuild and or I kill Minsk before he rebuilds. If you let him rebuild, this is what he does. It is horrifying. It murders everything. It's no bueno.
Without losing a unit. What's usually agreed on to be the best strategy in the mission is to use your sneak attack force to snipe every factory that the
for the speed
has.
I want to preface that that's the best speed strat. There are better strats for like a full comprehensive playthrough, which I believe he'll be doing.
delaying their access to siege mode for a very long time. This lightens the pressure and allows you to build up without fear of your units getting vaporized in one shot. This is what the speedrun does. But there's a trade-off.
Templar Archive.
So long to beat one
Templar
target,
Archives,
the players
sniping,
get all of their
foreshadowing.
tech unlocked, their best units, their upgrades
Correct.
completed, making them overpowered, slinging broken spells, and having tons of siege units. I struggled with this. I spent about an hour and a half trying out ways that could deal with both the Protoss and Terran, and it just wasn't working out. I think I could have potentially done it if I just wanted to reload over and over for hours, but I started thinking,
Or Dank
what if
Swarm.
sniping siege tech isn't correct? Well, it is. But what if only sniping siege tech isn't correct? So I started routing out the sneak attack a bit. Maybe the world record speedrun doesn't actually use all of its tools to the best of its ability.
Okay, now hold on. There are different functions. Oh boy. There are different functions, and I love what this does. Grant actually challenged me to try and beat True Colors faster with his strat. I haven't done it yet because I'm a bad person. aka I've been busy because Grant also has me doing like 3 other things for the GGG MMMSSS, and I'm also trying to finish up other things, so it's a busy time. We're trying to do like Red Alert 3 and stuff. It's a whole mess, but I will do that at some point. I just hope my skills don't wane too much.
And after about 2 hours of trying various ideas, this is what I came up with.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
There are 3 Terran bases, the top, bottom, and middle. I send my Hydras to the middle, start mining and building drones at my base, send the Lurkers to the bottom, and Zerglings to the top. The Zerglings surround and kill this Vulture before it fires twice and kills one.
I told him about that.
Down, heads over to the command center, kills it, and the nearby SCVs. Meanwhile, Hydralisks kill a few units at their base, target this Comsat station, now meaning the Terran can't scan, so the Lurkers at the south can burrow and take down this factory without any danger. The Hydras then take down a Goliath, snipe all 4 of these SCVs, and start heading south, and on their way out, they blast a Marine. During this, the Zerglings are targeting all the production structures at the top base, and then they head to the middle and clean up these 2 Marines. Then because the Hydras killed the rest of the defenders, they can safely gut this base's 2 barracks, 2 starport, 1 factory, and command center. As the Hydras reach the bottom base, they join up with the Lurkers in the far south. The Lurkers stack in this corner and then move the Hydras non-violently towards the final command center. Use the Lurkers to target down this missile turret, which causes the enemies to go after them, but when the turret dies, they lose vision and they reset. Then bring the Lurkers over to the final command center, burrow 2 and target it down, while the final Lurker moves up to this factory and kills it, while the Hydralisks kill all 3 starports. All this while expanding to the top left, getting defenses set up for the giant counterattack at home, and once the sneak attack ends, the Hydras keep going a little bit, downing the final...
This is the only part I'm scared about is,
with 0 command centers,
for the
0
speedrun,
SCVs.
is leaving these units here. I guess everything is dead, so theoretically, if you could have your Hydras gut out, like, be attacking this entire time down at the bottom, that would be actually sick. Like, if the problem is there's just a ton of buildings left on the map, but what I think you can do is go, like, if you aren't living in fear. Oh, yeah, you're deathless. True. If you just gut this whole base, you go mass Ling and just run over Protoss with it and use it to clean up bases. And I think this is what makes Ling strategies viable, but I'm not sure. Again, I want to give it proper testing time. But that's about it.
0 factories,
Brilliant.
0 starports, and 0 barracks.
Brilliant.
Everything burrows. The enemy can't make turrets, science vessels, or scans to detect them. They are perfectly safe forever. And the Terran is absolutely, totally out of the game. I am so proud of this routing.
It's... hold on.
It completely invalidates the entire
And you should be.
game. Instead of a giant slog through multiple opponents, I make a bunch of Ultralisks and attack move through a Skytoss army whose carriers deal damage to them. A single damage. I Dark Swarm to kill Duke, clear every building on the map, and give Phoenix the farewell speech.
Actually, I could do that too. Because to make Zergling strats viable, you must get Adrenal. So instead of going like into Scourge, which is what I've been doing, you could theoretically just drop a Defiler Mound, grab a Defiler, and Dark Swarm your 6 Hydras and kill Duke. There is viability in this. I genuinely think there is, but it's going to take a good bit of work and a lot of practice on it. So again, I gotta find time to give it the proper testing and not just, I tried it a couple times and I got like a 1410.
Phoenix. No.
Okay, that strat is absolutely brilliant. I mean, it genuinely invalidates Terran. Alright, I'm gonna skip through that. However many Grant did. It is genuinely one of the best missions of all time. There's so many opportunities to tailor your sneak attack to what you need to do. Sniping siege tech is so good. And also, this is so good for what he needs to. It's just amazing. I'm so happy that he came up with this route and executed it. It's hard. He floated about 1,000 minerals. Who cares? So sick. Absolutely awesome. I mean, it opens up Zergling strats to be fighters and still go, well, what if we did this? What if we did this? Because it's so good. I mean, there's APM space to possibly snipe a little bit of Protoss and whatnot. APM's a little hard on that. This is a tough strat, but it's so good. It's so good.
Invalidates the entire.
How do you think I feel about it?
And Dark Swarm to kill Duke, clear every building.
He was a little unceremonious.
The farewell that he deserves.
These Broodling, the mission ends immediately, so the Broodlings don't expire. This was the very first thing he asked me about in Deathless, and it was like 8 months ago. I'm surprised you didn't mention more about it.
To hell.
Oh, he slowed it down. Boo hiss.
Second mark, and we're under attack. You may also notice that it looks like we're playing from the moon. This is a cool and unique feature.
Playing from the moon. Did you know time moves slower on the moon, apparently?
Zerg units, and the only thing I can do is set the game speed to the slowest and restart over and over and over and over until I manage to get these units out of the space without them dying.
Okay. Boo.
This sucks. It isn't skillful, it isn't fun, it's just hoping the AI does something dumb and being in pain during the process. I love this. After getting the AI to drop the ball after about 1 billion tries.
Okay. If you want, I'm going to throw Grant under the bus real quick. I can praise him, but I also can throw him under the bus. You can totally do this on fastest speed. I actually, in my original run, I did this on slowest because, you know, it's stupid. But if you pause, if you F10 right during the load screen, and this is what led me to get the better save load. If you pause during the load screen, you will have a pause screen at the 0 frame mark, at which point you can move your mouse cursor to the minimap, hit escape, box, and move them away. And I think I did this in 6 tries, I think, to get the units away. Maybe it was closer to 10. But you can do it. You have to realize that there are 2 Zerglings that target this Hydralisk. So if you take like a second Hydra and shoot them, they'll then get a re-aggro command after like 3 or 4 seconds, because they're constantly given, I think, every 2 trigger cycles, so every 2.8 seconds, they will be given a new attack command, and they'll lose their initial targets, and they'll hit the hatchery because your Hydra will scoot out of the way. So this is entirely viable to do at fastest speed. Grant doesn't need to do this to prove that he can do Deathless. He already did Countdown. Like, I'll give him a break.
I managed to successfully escape my units from this base and can explain what's going on here. The mission.
Oh, we're doing the bridge block. That's right. Let's go. To be fair, doing this with the bridge block is very hard, because you don't get to the bridge block in time. So, +1 points.
Are attacked instantly, and we're supposed to be dropped down to 1 island base. The bottom 2 bases.
I didn't do the bridge block.
They're impossible to save. However, there is a trick that we can use to start the mission with 3 bases instead of 1.
You can also hide those Hydras just down and to the right.
And then is told to attack the hatcheries. The combination of awful bridge pathing and a move command means that if I grab my starting 4 Zerglings, set them to follow each other on this bridge, the enemy will run into them and get stuck, so the top is safe. Meanwhile, in the south, my hatcheries die, and I learned that if larvae die, they don't actually count on the unit's loss tab, which I feel like is something that I really should have known at this point, but
Yeah, that would have helped with the 2 arbiters, huh?
Okay. After quite a few restarts, I managed to get a position where all of my forces in the bottom segment are hiding, the middle base is starting to produce workers, and the top 2 bases are safe with a giant death army being held back by 4 Zerglings. And now we have to talk about some very technical StarCraft 1 stuff because this mission gets weird.
Okay, he did not ask me about the technical explanations of this, so I'm very curious exactly how he goes about it. Oh, that's cool. Good rotation on the arbiters.
I'm going to ask you to stick with me because this is kind of tough to explain. We don't fully understand what's going on here, and I don't have perfect footage for what I'm talking about.
Oh man, I could have got him some footage for it. Necron sent me some screenshots of like the AI defense zones and things like that. That would be awesome here. I'll be a bit technical. Those get in the final release. Woo. I'll actually cut to the final release when that happens.
So it's going to be a little bit rough. The main objective of the mission is to kill 30 scientists in a Terran base. This base is garbage, but it's flanked by 2 very strong Zerg players that go all out in defending it. The attack waves at the beginning of the mission aren't supposed to stick around. The Zerg isn't supposed to have that much firepower early in the mission, so after destroying the bases, they run off and get despawned.
Get your overlords in position.
After the attack, the Zerg players send some drones over to expand at the bases that they destroyed, and then they burrow some lurkers around to defend those expansions. And then at the 2-minute mark, a couple of triggers activate. First off, there's a safety trigger that checks if any of the Zerg rush units are still on the map and makes sure that they go away. And second, the game does something weird. It takes all of its lurkers and basically
was a great surround
around them.
Correct.
It counts as their own base.
Correct.
This is important because we've seen before that allies are really bad at helping each other. But the AI starts with lurkers in the Terran base, so that means that both of them are effectively counting the Terran as themselves, and they will fight tooth and nail to defend it.
Correct.
They also do this with the bases that they're currently taking in the top and bottom. But because we messed with the Zerg and kept the 2 bases at the top, something breaks. I don't know exactly which part of it is going wrong. Maybe it's the units despawning. Maybe it's them not properly being able to take the bases, or the fact that the lurkers on top get killed. But something doesn't work right, and it makes the AI go ballistic. Okay, so a little bit of information.
A little bit of information on the information. It's pretty decent. Like, the information I include is pretty decent, but I do not notice what happens later with the orange base, but everything else is pretty accurate. Let me see if he has anything more.
As far as I can tell, the top AI, orange, just sets random places on the map as the high priority defense location.
Not quite, but close.
This matters a lot because the way the AI works is that it's pretty lax with its production. It has infinite money, map hacks, and starts with a bunch of bases and tons of larvae, so it has to be chill most of the time, otherwise it would just kill you with ultralisks at the 0-second mark. But when the AI gets attacked, it starts producing units really quickly to defend and will try to counter what you're using. This means that walking onto random parts of the map will now cause the enemy to get very, very angry.
One death, interesting.
And I have no idea where these locations are, there's no visual indicator.
Yeah, so here's a little bit more technical explanation, and, you know, skip it if you don't want it. This is actually more intended behavior, which is terrifying. The AI will take, do I have, yeah, cursor. Will take these units and have some units, and they'll spill into the top of the UED base by the 2-minute mark, and then assign those as the defense locations. Grant's explanation for all of that, by the way, was perfect. Absolutely fundamentally fantastic. So that's why we keep the lurkers on the bridge until the 2-minute mark. I used to pull them away in the speedrun. Don't do that anymore. It's terrible. That's because it assigns fewer zones to defend, so the Zerg send fewer units. When I would let them into the base, and then the 2-minute would disappear them, they would set like 6 zones to defend, and that's why you'd get hit by like 4 ultras. So what actually happens is that in the old strategy, where we would kill the lurkers after the before the 2-minute mark, but after letting the attack wave go through, that would actually glitch out the AI, and they wouldn't get their defense zones proper. So this top of the UED base would not be assigned a high priority defense location. So we were actually glitching it out via that, which made the attack with the Zergling drops much easier than it was supposed to. So by triggering it with this strategy, it becomes back to the intended destiny AI behavior where it defends this location, and brown will defend the bottom. But we haven't manipped brown at all because it's useless and difficult. So that's why this suddenly becomes much harder, is because it's intended. It's actually broken if you do the lurker snipe strat. Regardless, in the speedrun, obviously, we've shown it's faster, so we don't care. I just had to modify the build order to add a few more Zerglings, add some extra upgrades. Deathless is going to suffer from this, though.
Deathless
I
going
did
to
the lurker snipe strategy, and it was still difficult because I did Deathless back in August. No, my footage was recorded way long ago, like absolutely forever ago, 2022. It was 2022, November 20 practice in. So I did the lurker snipe strat. So that's the technical explanation as to what's going on here and why Grant is going to be in a lot of pain.
Basically, I have to kill Orange. He is too dangerous to be left alive. And this is where it gets double.
And there's only so much you can put in a Deathless video without it being
Orange doesn't set his own base
bad.
as
Like,
his base.
What?
Through him very quickly with
That's
fire.
crazy.
This I didn't
Just
know.
Sitting here, not being used to defend until I get very close to them. This is
Interesting.
not the way that an AI normally defends their base. They're not trying.
Yeah.
If I were to move these flyers into some arbitrary area on the map, these Scourge would get so pissed, absolutely sprint right over to intercept me and try to take my
Yeah,
guard
like
Yeah.
this.
This is what I'd normally expect, but
Oh, it's
I
dev's
think
just
break
conversion.
Unsurprisingly, once the Orange base is down,
Wow,
a
that's
Terran base
fast.
full of scientists is pretty easy. They've got a bunch of infantry around, but only have 2 barracks to reproduce, and they're absolutely supposed to be defended by these allies. One of which is out of commission, and the other doesn't have that much stuff because we have 3 times the economy that we were supposed to at the beginning of the mission. This mission is just bizarre. It's an insanely hard start, followed by an Orange base that was really
That's
hard to figure out how
wild.
to deal with, but once I did, was a free win. I can easily imagine a world where the AI decided to defend themselves and my life would have been absolutely miserable. But things actually went well here.
That's fascinating. I also really appreciate that Grant is just using flyers, but everything else is so interesting that I don't care. And he's only done it twice, but I mean, you have to do it in Omega. And I mean, I'm sure there'll be fun stuff for 8. 8 is very funnable.
Next up is Drawing of the Web.
Yeah, let's go faster and movement.
So, a little bit of backstory here. I actually
very quickly, this is the mission I've watched the most because it's literally just the speedrun made my
The speedrun made Deathless work for this one, and I like it. And I like that this is essentially the speedrun tribute mission, in a way.
did the majority of this run in 2022, which you
I might say that at the
recall was
end.
a good while ago.
Yeah.
I got exactly this far. I cleared every mission up to this point, and then, with only a handful remaining, I quit. For over a year. The combination of the things that we're about to experience in tandem with not understanding what was happening with the previous mission was too much for me. Now
We did not
I'm
know-
far
We did not know nearly as much as we do now, especially Grant and myself, learning so much from the speedrun. So, I mean, it's just so cool. He has so many more narrative angles to go after. It's really cool.
far better player with more knowledge, but you should assume that every single thing I do from here on out took multiple attempts and slowly whittled my soul away in the process. Drawing the Web is a mission where we have to bring infested Duran to 5 points around the map.
Yes!
The first one
Speed
was really
strats!
bad.
Whoa!
Speed run to do commentary.
Okay, so he tried to, when he quit this, he tried to send in Hydras and lurker morph them with the projectile in air or en route to his Hydras to save them from the shot, which is absolutely gigantic brained, but also gigantically impossible. And so he got so frustrated trying to do this on stream. So I appreciate that he's just going to go for the Duran option here because it still looks cool. I think Drawing of the Web, as painful as it is for the speedrun at times, is technically one of the coolest missions
because it's short, extremely visually understandable, and just execution heavy. I don't like doing that mission for the speedrun. It killed so many runs late. But when it goes right, it is fascinatingly cool.
On the map. The first one isn't that bad. Thanks.
That, by the way, is if a unit cloaks while the thing's trying to hit it, it just won't hit. Like if you are right on the edge of detection range and try and hit something, it just doesn't. Like you can air shot like Guardian shots against DTs, for example, which is something that happens on 9 sometimes.
So
Not anymore.
This campaign speedrun to do commentary for my friend Ace at Games Done Quick, I have learned that you can cloak Duran, lock down this Reaver, and one up here, wait for the observers to move, and slip onto the point. There's also a very funny...
Oh, he took the Reaver shot. I thought he was gonna... I saw that and I'm like, it's a reload. That was my instinctual reactions. That's a reload. But it's not. It's not Deathless. I love that the Archons are going to get mad, which is narratively fun.
Up here, wait for the observers to move, and slip onto the point. There's also a very funny bug where sometimes the AI will kill their own units if they're hit by lockdown. Everybody hates Reavers, apparently.
That might be a joke, I'm not sure, but I provide an explanation. That's not a bug, that's AI. If 2 AIs that are allied together take friendly fire, like if you friendly fire your ally, they'll shoot you back. Those Protoss are allied and they'll shoot... If the Reaver splashes onto them, they'll get mad and kill the Reaver.
Unfortunately, this is where the speedrun tricks stop. The next few points are well defended, and usually involve diving a photon cannon with a bunch of Zerglings. Instead, I have to macro, and this mission makes flyers unavailable, as well as drops. So we're making ground forces against the Protoss. I opt to open quickly with a solid Hydralisk count. I have a strict time limit here. As soon as the Protoss researches mind control for their Dark Archons, I lose. Using Hydralisks and...
Oh, very interesting. He went with the technical thing that Dark Archon mind controls and automatic loss. How is he going to do this? Mind control comes online by 12 minutes.
I punch through the first group of Protoss defenders. This mission has a lot of Dark Templar in it, which deal damage crazy fast. But as long as you're standing
that Ovi
still,
just showed up in
have a hard time getting into range of the Hydras.
True.
Once this cannon is down, Duran can cloak, slip on in, and we move to the third objective.
Good.
At this point, I folded Defilers into the mix.
Good.
This is a little bit sketchy, as melee units can still fight under Dark Swarm, and the Protoss is the melee faction today. But quickly diving in and getting out before they can bring in reinforcements leaves this point vulnerable for Duran once again to cloak onto.
Good.
With 2 points remaining, this is where things get really sketchy.
Yep.
The enemy is across this bridge, which has a Protoss base on the other side, and is swarming with Dark Templar, Zealots, and cannons. Bridge pathing being awful means that I can't get my forces bunched up enough to snipe
it's
Templar.
awful.
You have to use
Look at literally his lurker hatching.
Swarm to stay safe from the cannon.
Duran's dying.
After testing things for a little bit, I come up with a cheeky plan. I use a Defiler to Dark Swarm the bridge and send
So they get mind control at like 1240 technically.
2 Hydralisks forward.
Fun fact, if you like footage of failed attempts, Finlay, I actually included that in my one of my very first Deathless drafts on a single mission. And he's like, you don't have to label it as a failed attempt or anything like that. It'll be obvious. And now Finlay does that. Or Grant does it. Somebody does it now. 1140. And I'm like, haha.
Giving them a powerful, durable cocoon blocking the entrance into my spell. Then I can charge my forces straight onto the bridge without the Dark Templar being able to reach them. Look at this. The Dark Templar are so confused. They have no idea what to do here. I use this
and neither do your Hydras.
Invisible ninjas, I target down a cannon, retreat, and do the same process again. When
yes, they do.
Clear, I can grab Duran,
very weird.
Defilers, create a Dark Swarm path, get mind control, scream at my monitor, restart, make a Dark Swarm path farther away, and waltz Duran through 0.4, and once I've regenerated enough HP, 0.5 as well. And waltz Duran.
So he's pushing here at 513. He shouldn't have to regenerate health, by the way. This should just... Where are the cannons? Oh, did he kill one of the cannons there?
Scream at my monitor.
Yeah, he did. He killed that cannon.
Swarm path farther away and waltzed around through 0.4, and once I've regenerated enough HP, 0.5
he didn't even regen
This is a mission where learning the speedrun route, particularly for that beginning part, was integral to my success. If I had taken any longer than the Dark Archons inside of that base would have been able to mind control me, I would have been completely locked out of progression and the mission would have been over. Instead, I get to sit back and watch the fireworks as Talametros is destroyed. And for some reason, blowing up a Protoss capital city has convinced the Dark Templar that they should work with us in order to...
Okay, I'm gonna quickly... No, we're going.
Alright, I'll watch this one and then I'll watch the new one.
Oh, we're cooking. Oh man, this is gonna take forever. Oh my god. I know he was gonna do this. I knew it. He's gonna... I'm so glad he gets to show this off.
It's so funny.
Look at that money.
Nobody told me. Grant, I thought that was implicit knowledge. I was wondering if you could, like, clear an LZ for that. Yeah, I know. But, apparently not. Also, I see you took the bases here. All unbuildable. I know there's a big pit of unbuildability, but, that's wild.
50 minutes. 51, Dark Swarm.
That Dark Swarm
Didn't
highway.
even Sun Crush the Overmind. Well, you know what?
I'm gonna go test, I'm gonna go watch.
With us, in order
This
to...
one. Is this any different?
Right here.
Okay.
So I got exactly to right here with this third and final static defense rush montage before I realized that, oh, creep doesn't go up ramps. I'm stuck. The entire idea behind this joke was so fundamentally flawed that I'm keeping it in just so that you can judge me for it. Because if you can't laugh with me, at least you can laugh at me. I spent 52 minutes trying to static defense rush this Overmind and couldn't get to the very end and had to use Dark Templar and Defilers anyway.
Womp womp. Oh well. Hey, you didn't have to put this giant... Oops.
1.2 out of 10. Well, it worked. 537 kills. So, I appreciate the drawing of the web shout out. That was really, that's very cool. I mean, that makes me feel very happy on the inside because it is, you know, I know Grant had a tough time with the speed run because it is technically difficult and everything, especially when you are juggling like 87 other things. So having that little shout out to it, especially on drawing of the web, was really cool. He also did want to do diverging strategies from my run. So I did block him out of a couple things, but like that's still a functional way to go about the mission while also injecting his own little spin on it with the lurker egg morph and everything like that. Super cool. I did a Defiler heavy strategy, never built combat units. Like watching Grant spin on it is just so cool. I love it.
After Zeratul came in and oh so rudely stole my Overmind kill, we're pissed at him.
Ektar joke. Shout out to Ektar for that. Ektar constantly, like for years on commentary, makes the Zeratul kill steal joke.
Oh so rudely stole my Overmind kill, we're pissed at him and it's time to destroy the Protoss. The Reckoning is an interesting
I know he takes
we're
out
flanked at the
UED.
top and bottom by a white UED player.
I in
who's
fact
gonna
did not
come
know
up
that.
at all, because the objective is to eliminate all of the Protoss buildings. The
Oh,
map
yes.
is a little bit wild
Ooh.
looking. As you can see, there are two ground paths that go to the Protoss base, one on the top
The
and one on the
Hydralisks with
bottom.
their tails and whatnot.
Not to criticize. That is not how I would have done this segment. I would have had a full map overview with little two arrows around the
There are
side,
two
but
ground paths that go to the
it's
Protoss
not that you
base,
can't
one
do
on
it
the
another
top
way.
and one on the bottom. It's the weirdest peninsula I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This is another mission where it would be relentlessly difficult to fight against the Protoss, but I found a little bit of a trick. The mission gives the player initial vision of every Protoss building, and the objective is to beat all of them within 30 minutes. But as we know, the StarCraft 1 AI is a little bit insane, and I wouldn't put it past them to accidentally start building a base inside the UED stronghold or something. And I think that Blizzard felt the same way. because I have never in my entire life seen this Protoss player actually construct a building. I think they just can't. So with this in mind, combined with the fact that the enemy has to manually research all of their upgrades, I hatch a plan.
Okay, real quick, they absolutely can, but it's just really weird. Like if you kill the fleet beacon real fast and give them like months to rebuild it, and by months I mean like 2 minutes, they will try, but it's not good.
Proxy base at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with
Because
the AI here.
gives me perfect vision of this Protoss base. I saw that a Templar Archives was in a fairly exposed position, so the first order of business is obviously to kill it. Because they can't rebuild it, it'll deny them the upgrade of Storm.
Real quick, on a entirely graphical like view note, I know zoom things are pretty popular. Whereas I like putting motion graphics on screen. That's just a stylistic difference. I really like my motion graphics. I'm a, outside of everything else, I love making productions and graphics and things like that. So that's my preferred method. Zoom is very effective because I found it immediately.
Archives was in a fairly exposed position, so the first order of business is obviously to kill it. Because they can't rebuild it, it'll deny them the upgrade of Storm and Mind Control, and the ability to make Dark Archons as well as Dark Templar, High Templar, and regular Archons. So I build some spore colonies and then proceed to burrow 7 lurkers on top of each other with an Ultralisk on the side. I then start using my initial guardians to start slowly pulling enemies into the death pit. 7 stacked up lurkers basically declare anything that gets in range a shish kebab, and the Ultralisk can shrug off a couple Reaver shots.
Wish you went for 9 or 10 or 9.
I also morph a few Devours and use
9 one-shots a Dragoon. Technically 8 does with +1, which I know you have.
It forces the air units to
wish you went for 9 or 10 or 9. Rewind.
I also morph a few Devours and use a cool trick where if you siege the AI from a cliff or a dead zone, it forces the air units to come and defend.
Speedrun knowledge.
I abused this earlier in the 4th Zerg mission when Blue had no air, and this time I can use it to force the air out of the base and over to me. The lurker fishing strategy is absolutely amazing.
This is so cool.
All of the base's defenders. They can rebuild, but they only have one of each production structure, and Templar are out of the question. I take this time to swing to the back of their base with Guardians and Devours. Hitting the enemy from here is similar to attacking from the dead zone where they pull their flyers to die, but with the added bonus where they will use shuttles to ferry their units up. Normally they're really fast at this and it can get overwhelming, but in this situation where they don't have anything left,
the carrier's back?
When it finishes from their gateway.
Hey, wait, where'd this carrier come from?
Air out quick.
That's crazy.
This situation where they don't have anything left.
Either rebuild it or it's a different
from their gateway. They're grabbing it and
game clip.
delivering it to me with the shuttle. The lurkers already did the heavy lift structures.
Luna's having a dream. It's very cute.
And these
he ran away to the shield battery. Okay.
The Devours finish off the carrier, the Guardians blast the production structures, and then I swarm in Mutalisks to clean things up before I run out of time. The base is cleared, and then Zeratul kills Vorazun's mom. And because we won with more than 5 minutes remaining, it is time to go to the bonus mission.
Very cool.
This mission...
Okay, I'm giving him biggest props for that one. That strategy is awesome. Favorite one from the Zerg campaign that's not the snipe. Somebody raided. JSRF moment. The build order snipe on True Colors. Those two, top 2 things so far. Oh, I'm loving it.
Is pretty short and pretty sweet. Zeratul is investigating a Terran installation where Terran is performing wicked experiments despite not having his medical license yet. We play as the Protoss, where we have Zeratul, some Dragoons, 4 Dark Archons, 2 mind-controlled siege tanks, a mind-controlled science vessel, a mind-controlled dropship, and a free ride straight to the end of the mission. Then Duran monologues for like 5 minutes about his Zerg.
Honestly, I appreciate the speed you did that segment at. I had 2 cuts in my entire mission when doing this. One to remove a save box and another to move the dropship a little faster. My explanation took 3 seconds less time than the entire mission. So going, I have this, and I'm done, is a great way of going about it.
And it's a whole big plot thing for the next game. It all sounds really cool, and hopefully Microsoft makes a StarCraft 2 so we can see how it goes. But for now, it's time to end this. It's time for Omega. Here we...
That is the identical strat, because he's like, it's a bonus mission, it doesn't matter. Love it. Omega time. Oh boy.
We are the finale. Kerrigan has pissed off everybody in the Cthulhu sector, and now
Hydra speed immediately.
Protoss and Mengska's Dominion have allied together to strike against her, and we have to defeat them all. Unlike the final Protoss mission countdown, where the difficulty came from sheer randomness, Omega is the ultimate test of micro, tenacity, and game knowledge. The perfect setup for a finale.
Yeah.
All three enemies get aggressive
So
quickly,
cool.
each sending a small prodding force in the first couple minutes. My plan is to hold them all off and quickly grab an expansion for gas.
You can
There are
use the
two nearby
Zerglings
bases
to do
pick
this
from,
Deathless
and to suit
too.
my plan, I decide on the northern one, which is defended by spider mines. I don't know why you can do this. It just works 100% reliably. Something about this doodad just makes Zerglings immune to landmines? Sure, why not?
It's a great one. Someone actually told us why. It's because you have to have a certain amount of pathable boxes for them to deal damage. And apparently, if you move the Zergling into that, it is not inside a valid terrain box or something. It's very niche, but somebody knows everything about this video game. It's honestly crazy. I don't care exactly how it works, because I mean, it could work for like other scenarios, but honestly, it's just really cool. It's a great thing to show off. Every time it came up, everyone was like, whoa.
Let's clear the remaining defenders in Umbrella Alley, and I start making
Umbrella Alley. I love our names.
Figuring out which of the enemies to attack first is a tough choice. Each will eventually upgrade a one-shot spell that I need to plan around, but whoever I hit first won't have enough time to upgrade. Mengsk has
so many sunks
from the science vessel that
oh my god,
all but 2 Zerg units. Artanis has mind control in the Dark Archon, and the UE
Antenna,
cruisers have a auto gun. I figure going after the battle cruiser, who's also
Grant, I will fix my StarCraft 1 hotkeys. Does not fix StarCraft 1 hotkeys.
Of Hydralisks, lurkers,
oh lord,
dropping them in between 2 UED bases.
Okay.
Using Dark Swarm for cover, I blitz my way up this ramp and into the UED main
He's
base.
super blind.
This is the perfect position I want to fight from. Usually you're expected to go through the expansion base first, which is well defended, has tanks, and some pretty good terrain for defense. But being on top of this ramp means that the enemy is the one attacking. They're bisected. And remember that Terran doesn't have any melee combat units, so their only way to contest my forces in Dark Swarm is through area damage. This doesn't go well for them when tanks don't get to be on the defensive and have to run over to me to fight. I sit under my blanket and slowly creep around. If a tank shows up, I snipe it, and I take down their production. If an enemy enters the Dark Swarm, lurkers do splash damage, meaning that they get taken out. This allows my Hydras to easily take down huge battlecruiser counts without an issue. As I get deeper into the base, I leave 4 of my lurkers on top of the ramp. They're all blinded by UED medics, and this is intentional. This means that they don't fire their attacks until the enemies are right on top of them, guaranteeing a kill at point-blank range. This whole thing is not a fast process, taking about 10 minutes of in-game time to slowly move through the enemy base, taking down their
That's real time, buddy.
As long as I stay under the swarm, then this is the closest to having cheat codes.
That's crazy. Yeah, the blind lurker strat's wild.
Up the Zerg's closest approximation to a capital ship army. We're finally going Mass Guardian Devour.
Oh my god, that's so many.
Cleaned up, I
love it.
Everybody there, and this army will take up arms for the remainder of the mission. The Crab Boys quickly knock down the Empire expansion, forcing the first surrender, and we move on to our next target, the Dominion. Mengska's Irradiate is the next spell to watch out for. The science vessel can target any biological unit and deals area damage around them for 25.2 seconds. The plan is to have my Devourers soak the ability. With their immense 250 HP, they can easily soak the spell that deals 249.9 damage. No, I'm not kidding. Is this a risky plan? Yes, but I don't have any other unit that can survive both that and the infinity siege tanks that Mengsk sports, so I don't have the luxury of choice. Or at least, I didn't think I did. After poking his periphery for a bit, this dingus of a commander nukes his own science vessel, so I waltz in and kill him. Seriously, I'm not sure what is up with Mengsk in this run. I think he's getting actively dumber every time. And I guess that means that Protoss is the final foe. Unfortunately, Artanis is a little better at micro than Mengsk is, and his Dark Archons have mind control. This is the final one-shot ability and the only thing standing between me and victory. But I have a plan. I grab my lurkers from the UED base.
I'm so curious what's up with this saturation effect, like this darkening effect.
Burrow them near the northernmost Protoss forces and start antagonizing them. As soon as they spot my flyers, the Dark Archons spring into action, walking straight into lurker spines and getting cleaned up.
Grant is so freaking good at this thing. Like, hi Luna.
I want to point out how freaking good Grant is at making cool things out of this. 90% of people, I will use my Guardians and reload until I snipe the Dark Archon. That's what I did. My Omega was not that cool. Like, I built a ground army, and then I built an air army, and then I went through. He's building an air army and baiting them up to the area to get them sniped by unobserved lurkers. Dude is so freaking good at his job at just making the, I don't want to say the mundane, but the mundane, like, so cool. God, he's so good at this.
Once all 3 of them are down, it's time to push in quickly. The Protoss will remake these Archons, and I have to find them and take them down.
I mean, that's my standing position is...
What happens next is an incredibly chaotic fight, where the AI sends a Skytoss attack wave at my main base while sending a bit of everything to my army.
Past me is covering this section a lot more.
From the left side that nailed me with a Maelstrom, but didn't mind control, probably due to having energy issues.
Yes, so the AI will attempt to execute an ability with its valid amount of, like, when it has 250 energy, it will meet multiple conditions, and then it'll mind control most of the time. But it would still attempt to Maelstrom if it could. But because it only takes like 100 energy or something to Maelstrom, 75, I think it's 100. To Maelstrom, once it gets that, and it meets the valid targets of 3 in an area, which obviously, then it does that. So, like, you can actually run queens out of spawn broodlings by forcing them to ensnare repetitively, and you can force out all of the these abilities. You can't do it with science vessels because irradiate's their cheapest ability.
After panic morphing a Guardian at the main base to save a Mutalisk, pushing the enemy away, reconsolidating my... After panic morphing a Guardian at the main base to save...
That's a Devourer. Grant, please reset the video, refix it. Oh my god. This is a factual inaccuracy. I cannot handle this. Re-render the video.
Mutalisk, pushing the enemy away, reconsolidating...
I did tell him about that. Did he fix it? Hold on.
Main base to save a Mutalisk control, probably due to having energy issues. After panic morphing a Guardian at the...
Nope, can't believe it.
My forces to guarantee that I didn't lose anything, and floating up to the high ground, I target the next Protoss.
Editing one word in a script is so stupidly
I found
difficult.
all 3 Dark Archons, none of which have enough energy to cast.
Oh my
obliterate them all.
God, it's so not worth it.
Outside of a major blunder, this mission is mine. For the final Protoss base, I attack with a...
I was gonna comment anyway, and I'm gonna rage comment on my own stream. Increase my engagement. Thank you, Grant. When this goes on YouTube, make sure everyone mentions it, of course.
All of Guardians, flanked on each side by a group of Devourers.
Actually, you could go comment on Grant's video right now for
potentially baiting area of effect damage from my less durable.
You can watch me get real
Deathless
happy.
StarCraft Brood War was incredibly hard. The constant frustrations with basic unit pathing and production, overtuned spellcasters, eccentric AI, control group limits, and sometimes just sheer randomness really wore me down. Countdown is easily the most difficult Deathless mission I've ever done, but I am glad that I did it. The amount of map knowledge, weird micro, AI abuse, cheese, and build order optimization that it took to make this run possible with a ton of variety in approaches, highlighting the strengths of almost every unit, and a lot of critical thinking, means that this was a special run. I ended up spending almost as long thinking about strategies as I did actually playing. You cannot go into this without a plan, and when those plans do work, it feels incredible. So I will say this once, and I will never say it again. It is possible to beat StarCraft 1 Brood War without losing a unit. Honestly, Age of Mythology Deathless doesn't even seem that bad now.
Oh my goodness. So I have like 4 more minutes where I did a conclusion on this, which basically sums up why this is like my favorite video, other than the fact that it's the one I know the most about. You're gonna like the things you know most and go over the stuff, but like it's a 4-minute conclusion, so I'll just play it through. That video is incredible. Like, obviously I'm gonna be the biggest fan of a 30-minute Zerg segment for this, but like, it just makes me happy, and that ending is so freaking good. Like, oh. So this 33-minute segment is roughly equivalent to what I did. I ended up having about 25 to 26 scripted minutes of run, and this feels so good. It feels like a culmination of his knowledge, my knowledge, the community's knowledge, and everything else that's gone into it. There are so many small things where he saw from my run, has played the game through on multiple occasions, learned from everywhere, decided what I did could be improved upon. And it's so cool to see the evolution of it. It's what I love about speedrunning. It's great. Oh my goodness. It's so good. Everything about it just makes me happy. There's a few moments where I'm just, this is so smart and very cool, but overall it's just, it's just such a neat thing to see happen, and it's a hard challenge to overcome. He can do it. I know he could. I would scream at every comment that said, "Oh, he quit because it was too hard." No, dude. Grant it doesn't take a genius to build Guardians and build Mutalisks and build Devours and plow through 6 missions. 4, you can do it. 5, you can do it. 6, you can do it. 7, you have to get creative. 8, you can do it. 9, you can do it. And 10, you can do it. You can do it on every mission. And it's not insane. You will have to spend your time reloading and doing all that. But it's doable. But Grant doesn't just do the minimum. He doesn't do Deathless, period. He does Deathless in a way, as he said, that shows off unit strengths, that shows that the other unit that people call F tier, whatever, is viable in a situation. It shows just how much goes into it, how much learning and knowledge and capability is in it. You can the lurkers here just kill me, dude.
As soon as they spot my flyers, the Dark Archons spring into action, walking straight into lurker spines and getting cleaned up.
Can't see it, unfortunately. Shame. Like, you don't have to do this. But Grant isn't just playing this to show you can do it. He's showing it with flair for thinking creatively and being awesome about it. And that is what makes it so good. That's why I've been waiting for this video for months and months. And I watched his original one, like literally 10 times from start to finish for my video, trying to learn how he does it, because he has such a fascinating style of capability, combining good mechanics with superb strategy and planning. And I'm so thrilled to be able to see the conclusion of this run with almost the arc that Grant has gone through with this run. And I'm just thrilled with it. I could go on for literally forever, so I need to stop and hit the stop recording button right now before I double the length of this video. This is Ace Reacts to what could be one of my favorite videos of all time on YouTube. Goodbye.